and welcome back. My name is Poober, and it is now episode 8 of my Season 2 Factorio playthrough. We ended episode 7 having just revamped my red and green science pack factories to be more ratio friendly. So now we can do a little bit more research to hopefully advance our tech and finally get some trains. And then I'm hoping we can also talk about what the endgame base design will be looking like as well. So let's start today's episode by getting some more research done. So we just got the railway section research, which unlocked our actual straight rails themselves, as well as the locomotives and the cargo wagon. But the next thing I'm really concerned about is the ability to do some signaling, which is why I'm going to go ahead and do this one here and start that research so that we can unlock the rail signals just below that. And in the meantime, let's see if we can go ahead and start getting some rails actually produced at this point. So rails take stone and then basically iron and steel. Thankfully, we now have a ton of stone over in our stone patch over here, but it is a long ways away. So I do need to consider whether I should just go to the stone patch and automate some things over there, or bring the stone over here where we have our other assembly machines and things like that. I think it'll probably be easier just to bring the assemblers to the stone patch instead of busing a whole belt line worth of stone or stone brick all the way over here. So let's head over there, and then I'll be back in just a second once I am. Well, I finally made it to this very large stone outpost that we have to the very west of my main base. So now what I'm planning on doing is adding a couple more things to the patch that we have here. We'll start with a couple miners. And this way we can get some stone ore and feed that directly into an assembler. So I think we'll use this one here since it doesn't have a recipe in use yet. And we'll keep this one directly feeding into it since it doesn't hurt anything. And then we'll just supplement with this belt worth of stone ore. Maybe something like that. And then we'll put this recipe as the straight rails. So we can already see the stone already getting fed into the assembler, but we do need the iron sticks as well as steel, which is too much of an effort to bus either the stone ore or the steel one way or the other to our separate bases. So I'm going to just feed it through a box right now. So we can do steel like that for now. And then I do have to worry about, actually let's change that up. Actually, we do need to feed the iron sticks into this assembler machine as well. So we'll add down one other assembler. And I was gonna move this over by one, but I think we're just gonna end up sharing the same box. So what we'll do is add in a stack or two of our iron plate, and on second thought I should have grabbed more iron plate before I left. But this will be our iron stick recipe. There we go. And then one long-handed inserter in the middle there should mean we can directly feed the iron sticks into the rail assembly machine right there. And now we just need an output for it. There we go, and electricity should finish it off. And looks like we need one more. There we go. Huh. Am I already... Oh, wrong way. I was wondering why that wasn't working. So I should cap this off, but I imagine with as many rails as I need, there's no point to capping it off at this early in the game. I did place down a blueprint in the previous episode, if you guys remember, with that 4-way rail junction, and I believe that has over 1,000 rails needed. In fact, I can double check with our blueprint here. Let's take a look by right-clicking. So just this blueprint alone for the rail junction is over 3,000 rails, which we're gonna have to use several boxes worth just to get that many. So I'm just gonna let this go uncapped and then come back. I'm gonna have to manually refeed our supply of the iron plate and the steel, but at least we will have some sort of automatic production of our rails now. I'll just go ahead and take what we have for now. In the meantime, let's go ahead and do some more research. We just got done doing the automated rail transportation section, but now we can move on to the actual rail signal research itself. This will unlock our rail chain signals and our regular rail signals. And let's take a look at that blueprint that I have laid down again. That requires over 122 regular rail signals and 176 of the chain. So I do need to get some automation of those as well. So I'm going to head back to the base, and then hopefully we can start getting some automation of the signals. Well, I finally made it back to the main base after quite a long walk, and unfortunately with no legs or anything to get me there any faster. But that's to come. In the meantime, we can finally get worried about getting our automation of train products. So for these, we need engines for sure, we need automation of our train stops, our signals of course, and then the locomotives and cargo wagons themselves. So I think for starters, we're going to do our engines first, since that is really what's needed before we can make a locomotive to begin with. So I'm not going to worry about a ratio perfect setup, I just want to kind of get a primitive version of production for our engines, and that requires steel, iron gear wheels, and pipe, which is basically just steel and iron. So since we have our iron and our electronic circuits up here, I think we're going to go ahead and just worry about bringing our steel up to these sections up here. So I'm going to extend this line just in case we need it in the future, but then we'll branch off from it. So let's craft a couple more underground belts because I'm sure we'll need them. And then we already have a splitter. We'll put it right there, why not? And then underground belt that. And then we can branch it like this. Ooh, hopefully we can fit it underneath. Yes, we can, but we do need to adjust those a little bit. There we go. Now we can continue the steel line. Add a couple underground belts. Whoops. Like that. And now, instead of having a main bus, we now have these products divvied up here. So now we can play with these lines. We have our electronic circuits, our iron plate, and then steel. And I think that's just about what we need for the engines and a lot of the products we need for trains. So let's figure out where to put everything. Since we're going to be pulling from this line, let's see if we can put an assembler in close proximity to it. And let's put in our labels so we know exactly what goes into it. So we have the iron gear wheels there, steel. So now all we really have to worry about is getting pipe to it. So now let's add in one just at the top there, and we can feed it the pipe like so by using an inserter like that. Let's give it some power like that. And another power pole there. Great, everything's powered. Let's put in the recipe for the pipe like that. Let's feed it the gear wheels and then the steel. And then this, of course, needs an inserter to feed the iron plate into that. But great, now we technically have engines up and running. We just need to get an output for it. I'm going to go ahead and just do a box. And we will definitely make sure to cap it off. I do not want to overproduce our engines, although it does take 20 engines just to go into one locomotive, and we're definitely going to be using many. So this will eventually get upgraded and changed in the future and definitely become more efficient in some sort of setup in the future, but for now we'll go ahead and just cap it off at one stack since we can't make it any more smart than that. But great, we now have that going. Now what do we need to worry about? We do have rails automated. We have engines now automated. I don't think we need to worry about train stops automated yet, but the rail signals will definitely be nice to have automated. So these just basically require the iron plate and the electronic circuits. So we can just feed our assemblers from here. We'll do something like that, and like that. And we'll just do underground belts to give room for our inserters. Like that. Like that. And then oh, I have just enough. Let's give it some power. Oh, didn't mean to do that, but I'll use that, I'm sure. It'll be nice to have upgraded power poles so I don't have such a mess like I do now. Okay, this one we'll call regular rail signals. This one will be the chain signals, and then let's just have a box for our output. And then I'm okay with them sharing a box. Again, we need over 100 of each, I believe, for the blueprint, so I'm just going to stack it or cap it at 2 stacks for that, and then we can worry about the smarts for how they are divided later on. Well, now we have signaling taken care of. Can we start automation of our trains? I don't think that'll hurt. We can add an assembler up here, maybe? What else does trains take? Engines, green circuits, and steel. Oh, I was wondering what was going on with that. Okay, what can we do to get our green circuits over here? I'm thinking we'll do a splitter. Like so. Gosh, this is getting more and more spaghetti-like as we move along. We need a couple underground belts still. We'll reconnect that up and that. And I guess just move it in this direction, the green circuits. Okay, let's put in the recipe. All right, now it's getting the circuits. We just need to give it the steel now, which we can have again split off from here. Like that. Let's do another underground belt loop. Get rid of that guy. And I think I want to change and allow the steel and the circuits to share on this line here. So I'm going to just change where the green circuits are. Let's see. There we go. I'll just pick these extra up. And that way our steel and our circuits can get shared on the same line here. That will be coming in handy. And then, let's see, since I'm going to actually have our engines fed into the locomotive thing, I'm wondering if we still want this box or not. I'm sure I will have to make some stuff by hand possibly with engines, but I really don't want to overproduce them even this early in the game. So I'm going to go ahead and just get rid of the box. And then if I need to, I'll just step over the line to get some engines if I need them in my pocket there. Okay, now let's do our inserter outputting the engines onto the line. And voila. So because I don't have any smarts yet, I'm thinking one way we can actually prevent overproduction of our locomotives is by just directly outputting onto a belt line. And that way only a couple will fit on here versus like a full stack in a box. I'm pretty sure the trains stack, even in the boxes. But this way I can only get a couple of locomotives instead of a whole stack worth. All right, let's go ahead and take my engines since I don't need them in my pocket for now, and I'll just let these start to build. And then we'll finally get some trains. That looks cute. Anyway, all right. Now we do need cargo wagons. And I think I can just add another assembler in here somewhere, I'm sure. Okay, iron plate, steel gear wheels. Perfect. We can do it right there, actually. And we can direct insert if we want. And that way we don't overproduce and make another line of our iron gear wheels. Instead, it's just going to be directly fed into this assembler here. We will continue to extend this line there so we feed in the steel that it needs. Let's put in our label, and then let's give it the plate it needs. And voila, we'll even use the same output line that we have there so that we don't overproduce those. Yeah, that should work. And we're even done with research, so we can start researching something else now. The thing that would most come in handy at this point might be oil processing for sure, because we're going to have to start getting plastics and upgraded science and things like that very soon. So we'll go ahead and start that research. In the meantime, let's double check. Do we have everything we basically need for trains? It looks like we do. So basically, trains are automated now apart from the train stop, which I don't mind just making in my pocket as we go along and need them. I think we do need to just let our rails build up over time, and then we can start filling in the layout that I have on the ground somewhere around here. It's over to the west in between the stone patch and the lake. I think it's somewhere right around here. But now, since we have a little bit of free time, let's go ahead and talk about what I want to do in terms of the game plan for the final base design. So we've now moved into an area where we can clearly see this base design that I've got laid out on just a paint setup, which is something that I like to do with all of my base designs so that I know going forward how I want to lay out my base and plan it. And it comes in very handy. So the first thing you will probably tell right off the bat is its shape. Now this drawing here is a hexagon shape, but I might make it an octagon. I haven't entirely decided that yet. But it will still kind of follow the main idea that it will start out small in the center and then branch out and get wider and wider exponentially the further out you go. So in the center, we'll start with the smallest section. We have what will be a supply depot that will be kind of our odds and ends and kind of what we had in the previous map where we had a production of all of our little things like the stuff we just made, the rail signals, the train stops, our circuits, things that we need that don't need a full factory devoted to it. So we're going to have that, and then just below that we will have our science area, and our science is depicted in the yellow that you see. But one thing I want to keep in mind for that is that we will upgrade our science in the future. So this will only be for mid-game, so this will probably only do one science pack per second. Although very late game, I do want to do more than that. So this will just be kind of a stepping stone to getting better science in the future. Now obviously you can see expanding upon the ring around the science and the supply depot. We have a ton of little small shapes around here, and those are all labeled. But we're starting over here to the very left is our iron, and then we're going to have steel in the middle and then copper to the right. And those will be our smelting sections. And then we'll bring in stone and our coal maybe to one of the other outlying areas to the bottom left or the bottom right or something like that. None of this is set in stone, so I can move around the factories or the smelting areas into any of these areas, can be interchangeable as I see fit. And then I'm thinking to the bottom we'll have somewhere for our circuits. We'll do a ton devoted to our green and then red and then blue circuits. This is not to scale at all, so just because I only have one small area devoted to green circuits doesn't mean it's going to be that small in the actual game. And then to the very bottom middle, I think that's where we'll have our plastic and batteries and oil-dependent products, and then we'll bring in our oil in a very large section to the bottom middle area. And then one nice thing we can do is once we expand to very, very late game, we can add on a couple other hexagons or octagons, if that's the route I go, to kind of branch off to make almost like a honeycomb shape. And you can see that idea with this rendering as well, adding on a couple more hexagons. So it'll be kind of like almost like a grid layout. That is what I tentatively have planned, although of course, like all of my other bases, it will likely change and get updated as we move along in the game. So let me know what you guys think about this whole base design. I know a lot of you commented that you wanted to see me make the Fibonacci circle or the spiral, and I think that's a super awesome idea. I just couldn't think of a way to make that in the game that would actually be efficient or serve a purpose. So for now, this is the best base design that I came up with that will actually be efficient, get everything where we need it to go, and utilize a ton of different rail networks, which is very important for this railroad map. So I can't wait to see your feedback down below, but otherwise I think we're going to end this episode there. By next episode we should have our oil processing done and be able to move on with hopefully implementing and filling in that rail blueprint and getting started working towards the map design that I just got done talking about. Hope to see you then. Thanks you guys.